the truth you carry, building a life that fits your soul. Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by telling you something most people are too afraid to say aloud. You don't owe the world your conformity. You don't owe anyone a performance just because they hand you a script they expect you to follow. And perhaps most importantly, you don't owe silence to a system that insists your voice is too loud, your dreams too big, your personality too inconvenient. We've been raised in cultures, communities, and companies that whisper rules into our ears before we even learn to speak. They say, do this, wear that, don't stand out too much, don't speak too much, don't dream too much, and for heaven's sake, don't fail. We're programmed to believe that we need permission to live fully, and if we wait long enough, we'll receive it through a promotion, a degree, or someone else's approval. I want to say what maybe no one ever told you before. You don't need permission to be you. You never did. I was 25 when I stepped into the professional world with ambition in one pocket and fear in the other. And for the first decade, I chose fear. I did it the right way, which is just another way of saying someone else's way. I muted my instincts, ironed out my quirks, and handed over my voice to a system that promised safety in exchange for silence. I nodded in meetings when I wanted to scream. I smiled in rooms where I felt suffocated. I said yes when my heart was begging me to walk away. But do you know what happens when you betray yourself too long? You don't just lose passion, you lose clarity, you lose your reflection. You lose that sacred, powerful, undeniable truth inside youth that you were born to be more than obedient. You were born to be honest. For years, I played by rules that were written by ghosts of tradition, ghosts of expectation, ghosts of this is just how we do it. But let me tell you something about ghosts. They don't live your life, you do. So I broke the rules. Not to be rebellious but to be real. The day I decided to stop performing for the world and start showing up as myself was the day everything changed. It didn't get easier, it got truer. And I would take truth over ease any day. The truth will ask you to walk alone at times. It will invite you into rooms where no one claps and everyone stares. The truth will stretch you, undo you, shake you to your core, but it will also set you free. And what's the point of all this, of life, of work, of success, if you're not free? When I look back now, I don't regret the failures. I regret the moments I didn't show up for myself. The moments I abandoned my voice for the comfort of the crowd. The moments I said yes when my soul screamed no. Let me tell you something about trying. Trying isn't weak. It's the bravest thing you'll ever do. And failing is the tax you pay for building a life on your own terms. Every person you admire, every story that moved, you came from someone who dared to try, who stood up even after being knocked down, who saw rejection not as the end, but as redirection. If I had to do it all over again, I'd choose the bruises over the numbness every single time, because the bruises heal, but a numb life, that's a slow death. You may ask me, how do you deal with judgment? How do you move forward when people talk behind your back, when they call you reckless or foolish or naive? I'll tell you. You remember this. Their opinions are not your truth. Their voices are not your compass. Their approval is not your fuel. Don't you ever let someone who's never tried tell you what you can or cannot do. Don't you let someone sitting safely on the sidelines criticize the one who's out there getting bruised in the arena. Let them laugh, let them doubt, let them gossip. You keep building, because one day, the same people who mocked you will point to you as proof that it's possible. I know the fear you feel, the fear of losing, the fear of looking foolish, the fear of falling flat, but you want to know what's even scarier than failing? Waking up at 60 and realizing you never lived. You know what's terrifying? Spending your entire life climbing someone else's ladder, only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. You're not here to be liked, you're here to be real, and if real costs you approval, let it. You were not designed for smallness. You were not built for boxes. You were not born to be anyone but yourself, and that is more than enough. Now, let me tell you something personal. I've been mocked. I've been doubted. I've been dragged across headlines, buried in criticism, ripped apart by voices that didn't know my name but thought they owned my story. And you know what I've learned? The greatest strength you will ever build is not in pretending to be untouchable. It's in being fully human and showing up anyway. That's where power lives, in vulnerability. In truth, in the decision to stand tall even when your knees shake. So here's my invitation to you today. Take off the costume, stop dimming your light, Get loud about what matters to you. Be wrong, be messy, be seen, be real, because a life lived on your terms, no matter how chaotic or uncertain it may feel, is the only life worth living. Let them talk. Let them watch. You have work to do, and that work is becoming. Asterisk, ladies and gentlemen. There is a strange thing that happens when life shatters your illusions. At first, you panic. You scramble to pick up the broken pieces, trying to glue them back together because that's all you've ever known. You fight to restore the version of you the world found acceptable, the one who smiled even when she was drowning, who nodded yes when everything inside her screamed no. But let me tell you something powerful. Sometimes what breaks you is the best thing that ever happens to you. Sometimes the shattering is sacred. It forces you to see that what you were holding on to was never real strength. Real strength is not in never falling, it's in rising when every voice, including your own, tells you it's easier to stay down. When I say I've been broken, I don't say it for pity. I say it because I want you to understand that you're not alone. I've stood in rooms filled with noise and felt utterly invisible. I've succeeded on the outside while crumbling on the inside, and I've built castles that turned out to be sand. But I've also rebuilt again and again, not from where I was, but from who I was becoming. You see, there's a fire that lives in you. Life will try to dim it. People will try to silence it. Fear will try to freeze it. But if you guard that fire, if you protect it, feed it, speak to it, will light the way through your darkest nights. There was a time I thought resilience meant being tough all the time. I wore armor. I smiled through heartbreak. I performed strength even when I felt like shattering. But I learned something profound along the way. The strongest people I know are not the ones who never break, but the ones who let themselves break, honestly, and still choose to rebuild with bare hands and bleeding hearts. Resilience is not about how loud you are, it's about how quietly you rise when no one is watching. I've lost, I've been humiliated, I've been misunderstood by people I would have taken a bullet for, and in those moments, it's tempting to shrink, to harden your heart, to let the world make you bitter. But bitterness is heavy. It robs you of your beauty, and more importantly, it disconnects you from the part of yourself that still believes, still dreams, still hopes for something more. Forgiveness, especially of yourself, isn't weakness. It's how you release the chains that keep you tied to a past version of you. So to the one listening right now who feels like giving up, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not done. This isn't your end. It's your turning point. The world may have handed you 1,000 reasons to stop, but I dare you to find one reason to continue, and let that reason be you. You deserve to fight for your life. You deserve to see what's possible on the other side of this pain. Let's talk about critics for a moment. The world is full of them. You'll meet people who will write chapters about you based on a single paragraph they misunderstood. You'll face judgment from those who've never walked a day in your shoes, but feel entitled to speak on your journey. You'll be labeled, dissected, ridiculed, not because of who you are, but because you dared to step into the light and do. You know what you should do with their opinions. Nothing. You don't owe a rebuttal. You don't owe a performance. You don't owe a sanitized version of yourself just to make others comfortable. You owe yourself truth, and truth is loud. It disrupts. It challenges. It threatens the fragile identities people have built around control and conformity. You will never be enough for people who are committed to misunderstanding you, and that's okay. Because you weren't born to live in their cage, you were born to fly beyond their reach. You don't have to get it right all the time. You just have to keep going. Start messy. Speak even if your voice shakes. Dream even if you've been told you're foolish. Fail forward. Learn loudly. Love fiercely. Create imperfectly. And most importantly, show up fully. Not someday. Now. The thing about waiting for permission is that it never comes. The green light doesn't show up with fanfare. The perfect moment never knocks. You'll be waiting your whole life for something outside of you to give you what's been inside you all along. The authority to begin. The world needs people who've been through hell and still choose to build heaven. It needs your pain turned into purpose. It needs your story told, not just the highlight reel, but the raw, unfiltered, behind-the-scenes truth of it all. Because your story is a mirror, and someone out there needs to see their reflection in your journey to know they're not alone. We spend so much of our lives performing, polishing, perfecting. But what if the very thing that sets you free is the thing you've been hiding? What if your honesty or full, unedited presences, the key that unlocks someone else's prison. I know what it means to have people doubt you. I know what it means to walk into rooms where you're dismissed before you even open your mouth. But I also know what it means to earn respect by being exactly who you are, unshaken, unafraid, and unapologetic. So when the world asks you to shrink, dare to expand. When they tell you to settle, reach higher. When they say you can't, prove them wrong, not through vengeance, but through victory. There is no timeline on transformation. You don't have to be where someone else is. Your path is valid, your pace is enough, and your presence is powerful. You are not late, you are not broken, you are not too much. You are exactly what the world needs, exactly as you are, but only if you choose to believe it. So stand in your truth, even if your knees shake, even if your voice trembles, even if no one claps. Because real confidence isn't about being the loudest in the room. It's about knowing who you are when no one is watching. And when you build from that place, when you live from that place, no storm can break you. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason your soul gets louder in silence. That inner voice, the one you've been trained to ignore, doesn't speak in noise. It whispers when the world gets quiet. And it tells you things you've always known but were too scared to accept. Like this: you're meant for more, not more applause, not more followers, not more polished trophies for the shelf. No, you're meant for more realness, more truth, more impact, more meaning. And to get there, you must stop asking others for directions to a place only you can build. Let me tell you something that no one told me when I was drowning in self-doubt. Your life is your message. Every broken piece, every lesson, every scar, every time you fell and got back up, it all becomes the gospel of your existence. You are writing scripture with your choices. You are leaving behind a trail of evidence that says, I was here, and I mattered. Don't waste your life trying to be what someone else finds acceptable. Don't betray yourself just to win applause. That will never be enough. That kind of validation is counterfeited, evaporates when you need it most. But the kind that grows from living authentically, that's the currency of legacy. Let me tell you why legacy matters. Legacy isn't about your name being remembered. It's about how people feel because you are alive. It's in the child who believes in themselves because you saw their potential. It's in the stranger who found courage because you shared your truth. It's in the silence you broke when you spoke up for someone who couldn't. It's in the dream someone dared to chase because you went first. You don't need $1 million brand to have an impact. You need integrity. You need intention. You need to show up when it's hard and speak when it's risky. That's legacy. That's leadership. And that's what we need right now. We don't need more polished people. We need more present people. People willing to be wrong. People willing to grow. People willing to burn the blueprint and build from soul. You don't need a perfect resume. You need a real story. And here's what your story should say. I chose truth over popularity. I chose character over comfort. I chose to rise every time life tried to bury me. I chose to bet on myself even when the odds were brutal. And I didn't wait for permission to live out loud. That kind of life shakes the ground. That kind of life heals people. That kind of life builds the future. So if you're waiting for a sign to stop hiding, this is it. If you're waiting to be ready, start scared. If you're waiting until you're perfect, you'll be waiting forever. The world needs you now, not a future, filtered, rehearsed version of you. The real you, the raw, unedited, beating heart version that bleeds passion and carries purpose. Let me tell you something about fear. Fear doesn't die when you become successful. It just evolves. At every level, it whispers new lies. It tries to make you shrink. Again, it tells you you'll lose everything if you stand tall. But here's the truth. The only thing you'll ever really lose is yourself. If you keep letting fear decide your life, and if you lose yourself, nothing else matters. So fight for yourself. Speak up for your soul. Make choices that reflect your truth, not your fear. Yes, people will misunderstand you. Yes, they'll criticize you. Yes, some doors will close. But better to be locked out of a room that doesn't honor you than to sit quietly in a space that shrinks your spirit. Let them misunderstand. Let them gossip. Let them doubt. Let them walk away. You don't owe them understanding. You owe yourself freedom. And freedom comes when you finally stop performing and start becoming. You are not here to be digestible. You are not here to be everyone's cup of tea. You are not here to dance around other people's discomfort. With your truth, you are here to shine, to roar, to whisper. to fall and rise again, to love out loud, to build something so honest that it outlives you. And that will only happen when you take the risk of being fully, radically yourself. Do you know the most beautiful people I've ever met? The ones who've been shattered and still choose softness. The ones who've lost everything and still choose faith. The ones who've buried dreams and still plant new ones in broken soil. They are not bitter, they are brave, and they teach us something divine. You don't have to be whole to be worthy. You don't have to be famous to be impactful. You just have to be real. If all you do in this lifetime is wake up every day and choose love over fear, truth over comfort, purpose over applause, then you've already won. Because the world doesn't need another perfect story, it needs yours. The one with jagged edges and cracked open moments. The one that didn't go as planned. The one that was messy and painful and beautiful and yours. Own it. Tell it. Live it. And if you're scared, good. That means you're doing something that matters. That means you're alive. That means you're playing big. Don't back down. Don't silence your voice. Don't shrink your dreams just to fit in a world built on fear. Build your own. Let your courage be louder than their opinions. Let your heart be the compass. Let your life be a rebellion against everything that told you to sit still and stay small. You are not small. You are not weak. You are not done. You are becoming. And this right here, right now is your invitation to show up like never before. So rise, speak, build, dream, and most of all, live like you mean it. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a truth that pulses quietly beneath the noise of your daily life, beneath the deadlines, the expectations, the striving, a truth that's not buried in some mountain or locked behind doors of status or money. It lives within you. It has always lived within you. It waits for you to stop, breathe, and finally listen. That truth, you were never meant to conform. You were meant to transform. Transform fear into courage, doubt into belief, silence into power, shadows into light. And for that transformation to begin, you must stop asking others for permission to be who you are. No one can hand you the key to a life of truth. You were born with it, and you carry it every single day. You've been taught to edit yourself, to mute your voice, to shrink so you don't make anyone uncomfortable, to perform instead of live. You've been trained to keep the volume of your soul at a whisper so the world can stay orderly, neat, controlled. But you weren't born to be small. You weren't born to whisper. You were born to roar. What if I told you that your real life hasn't even started yet? That all these years you've been wearing a version of yourself to survive a carefully curated costume stitched together by expectations, fear, and shame. But beneath that costume, your real self is still breathing, still hoping, still waiting. And today is the day you set it free. Let the world see the cracks. Let the world feel your realness. Because the world doesn't need more polished people. The world needs more present people. Alive people. People who shake the ground with their authenticity. Your greatest gift isn't perfection. Your greatest gift is your presence. You show up fully. You tell the truth. You live with both eyes wide open, even when it hurts. That's the kind of presence that changes rooms, that opens hearts, that shifts conversations, that liberates others. You've been conditioned to think you're not enough until you have more degrees, more followers, more approval. But the real truth, the one that's never been spoken loudly enough, is this: you are enough as you are. You don't need to wait until you're polished or proven. You just need to be real. You want to build something meaningful. Start with your truth. Lay it like bricks. Let your scars be the cement. Let your failures be the foundation. Let your soul be the architect. And yes, it will be messy. And yes, it will scare you. But your life isn't meant to be a museum. It's meant to be a masterpiece. Paint it with risk. Paint it with boldness. Paint it with the fire that no one else sees but you. Let them call you too much. Let them say, you've changed. Let them misunderstand you. Because you are not here to be understood by everyone. You are here to be true to yourself. If your dreams don't scare you, they're too small. If your path is too clean, you're probably walking someone else's journey. If your voice doesn't tremble when you speak, you're not being vulnerable enough. The world doesn't need another echo. It needs your voice, the real one, the one you buried beneath fear and people-pleasing, the one that trembles when it rises, the one that sings when you're finally alone. That voice is your superpower. Use it.